She only came to watch her son graduate. That was all she told herself, as she sat stiffly on the metal bleachers, hands folded in her lap, eyes hidden behind cheap sunglasses that didn't quite mask the nerves tightening her jaw. Around her, families laughed, waved flags, and lifted phones to record the ceremony. Proud parents whispered about ranks, future postings, and the long road that had brought their children here. She listened quietly, nodding when spoken to, never volunteering much about herself. She didn't look like someone who belonged in this world of polished brass and crisp uniforms. Her coat was worn, her shoes sensible, her hair pulled back with no effort at style. She was just another mother in the crowd, or so it seemed. Her son stood in formation with the others, back straight, chin high, eyes locked forward. He had grown into the uniform in a way that still startled her. When he'd left home, he was all elbows and restless energy, a boy trying too hard to be brave. Now he looked carved from discipline and purpose. Watching him, her chest ached with pride, and something heavier, memories she had buried deep because remembering them had once been dangerous. She had warned herself not to let her thoughts wander today. This day was about him, not her. She had promised herself that long ago. The ceremony began with the usual formality. Speeches echoed across the parade ground, full of honor, sacrifice, and duty. The crowd clapped on cue, wiping tears, standing for the anthem. She stood too, lips moving silently with the words, her posture unconsciously perfect. A few people nearby noticed and exchanged curious glances. Most parents slouched or shifted their weight, but she stood as if something invisible held her spine straight. She didn't notice. Her eyes were fixed on the rows of young soldiers, on one face in particular. Then the Admiral arrived. A hush rolled across the field as the senior officers took their places. The Admiral was unmistakable. Silver hair, rows of ribbons, a presence that commanded attention without effort. Even the cadets seemed to stiffen further as he approached the podium. He began his address calmly, praising the class, the instructors, the families. It was all very proper, very expected, until suddenly he stopped speaking. The pause stretched just long enough to feel wrong. The Admiral's gaze drifted away from the formation and toward the bleachers. Slowly, deliberately, his eyes scanned the crowd. Murmurs rippled through the audience as people shifted uncomfortably, unsure why the ceremony had stalled. Then his eyes locked onto her, the woman who had only come to watch her son graduate. Without a word, the Admiral stepped away from the podium. He descended the platform, crossed the open space of the parade ground, and stopped directly in front of her row. Confusion spread like wildfire. Cameras swung, whispers grew sharp and urgent. Her son felt it before he understood it, a disturbance behind him, a tension that crawled up his spine. The Admiral came to a full stop. His heels clicked together. And then he saluted. Not casually, not ceremonially, it was a crisp, formal salute, the kind given to someone whose rank and service demanded unquestioned respect. The crowd froze. Some gasped, others stared, stunned, trying to make sense of what they were seeing. The woman didn't move at first. Her breath caught painfully in her throat. For a moment, she looked like someone who had been struck by a memory she didn't want. Slowly, reluctantly, she stood. Her sunglasses slipped into her coat pocket, her shoulders squared, and with a precision that time had not dulled, she returned the salute. The silence was absolute. The Admiral lowered his hand, his voice steady but loud enough to carry. He spoke her name, not the name her neighbors knew, not the name printed on her worn ID. He spoke the name she had once used in a world that no longer officially existed, a name that had been classified, erased, sealed behind documents stamped in red. "Ma'am, it is an honor." The spell broke. The audience erupted in confused noise, but the Admiral raised a hand and quiet returned. He turned to the crowd and explained, carefully choosing each word. He spoke of missions that could not be described, of years when the country had needed ghosts instead of heroes. He spoke of a commander who led teams into places that never appeared on maps, who brought every soldier home when no one thought it was possible. He spoke of bravery without recognition, of sacrifice without ceremony. He spoke of her. She stood there, hands trembling slightly now, eyes shining despite her effort to remain composed. She had spent decades pretending that life had never happened. After the final mission, after the loss that still visited her dreams, she had walked away quietly. No parades, no medals pinned in public. She became someone ordinary on purpose. She raised her son to believe she was just a woman who worked hard and kept to herself. She never wanted him to carry the weight of what she had been. Her son's mind reeled. He stood in formation, heart pounding, barely hearing the Admiral's words. His mother? The quiet woman who packed his lunches and fixed broken fences? The one who never talked about the past? He felt something crack open inside him as understanding flooded in. All the discipline she'd demanded, all the silences, all the times she'd watched him leave without ever saying, "Be careful," because she'd taught herself long ago that fear was a luxury. The Admiral turned back to the graduates. "Every one of you," he said, "should know that the strength you carry did not come from nowhere. It was forged by those who came before you, often without thanks. Today, one of those warriors came only to sit quietly and watch her son take his oath. I refuse to let her service go unrecognized." The crowd stood as one, applause thunderous and unrestrained. Some cried openly, others simply stared at her with awe. She felt overwhelmed, exposed in a way she had avoided her entire adult life. But then she felt her son's eyes on her, and when she looked at him, standing tall in his uniform, pride finally drowned out the fear. For the first time, she allowed herself to be seen. When the ceremony ended, he broke formation and found her in the crowd. He didn't say anything at first. He just hugged her hard, like he was afraid she might disappear if he let go. She held him the way she had when he was small, whispering nothing, needing no words. Around them, the world buzzed with excitement, but for a moment, it was just the two of them. She had come only to watch her son graduate. She left remembered as a legend, and for the first time in a long time, she didn't walk away quietly.